The next step I'm going to show you is to make eye sockets. So the closed eyeball is going to go between these two lines and these two lines, but the socket's going to be a little bit bigger. You can use a finger to press it in, or you could use a worn down pencil eraser. I like to just use my finger, and it's kind of oval or slightly rectangular. Think of a skull eye socket, something like that. Notice I have not pressed in the area right here between the eyes. This is going to be the bridge of the nose. So I'm going to now go ahead and create some depth here, because your face is not flat like that. Your face goes in, and it's kind of nice that we've hollowed the clay out because it really moves easily now. So then I'm going to make this look a little more like a bridge of a nose. So I'm just taking my fingers and kind of pinching gently. I don't want to make it sharp in here. I want to kind of more round it out. If you accidentally collapse the face too much, you can always go from the inside and press it out. And remember, you can stuff it if it's too soft in there. I'm going to go ahead and press in here. Now, right here, again, our face is not flat. There is an indentation here. So that makes it so you have a forehead sticking out, and then you have that little dip, and then you need more material here for the ball and the nostrils to stick out. Right here, I can press in a little bit just below that bottom of the line mouth, that bottom of the mouth line. And I can kind of squeeze in a little. You see how that gives you a little more chin. And again, I will be adding more here. Now here, I can go ahead and press underneath the nose line. I'm kind of angling this, so I'm not pressing flat. I'm kind of trying to ramp it down like that, not flat like that. But my finger works just fine for that. And everything I do, I try to make it happen all the way around the curve of the face. I don't want this to get flat like a book. This eye socket looks better than that one, so I'm just going to press out a little. If you accidentally make the hole too big, you can always score a little clay on there. No problem. The wonderful thing about clay is most problems are fairly easily fixable. All right, so that's about as far as I can go without adding some more clay to it. And I still have my cranium. I still have my jawline. This is actually going to angle here, more like that. About like this. Now I'm going to go ahead and start adding some soft clay. If this has had time to set up so it's not sticky wet, you're going to want to have some slip available. If you don't have slip, all you have to do is take some clay, stir it with water, and make slip. Think of slip as basically mud that works like glue for our clay. Mine is really wet still, so I'm going to add a little bit of water, and I'm going to score it, so scratch it up. Now this is too much clay for the whole thing. Looks like a clown nose, but that's okay. I'm going to kind of blend, and then I will be trimming some off as well. I don't want it to go below that little line that was halfway between the center of the eye sockets and the bottom of the chin. So now basically you have the ball, but it's really, really wide. So I want to create that ball, and I want to make nostrils. So again, a nice tool is something like a pencil. And I'm just going to come out maybe on about a quarter of the nose, and I'm going to just wiggle it down. You can see how wet my clay is. It's sticking to the pencil. Now once I have the other facial features, you'll see that this nose right now that I have on there is really, really big. So I will be narrowing it down, but I'm just kind of having it like a placeholder right now. I'm ready to put the eyeballs in. So I've got my socket pretty deep in there. You can kind of see how far my finger sinks into the socket. Now I'm going to make an eyeball. The eyeball, you want to not completely fill the eye socket. I can stick a pencil in and see there's a little tiny hint of a gap around the whole thing. It's important also to make sure that your eyeballs are both the same size. So I like to make them at the same time so I can really compare and make sure they're identical. If you make them too big, right, if you look from the side, that's sticking out as much as the nose does, the bridge of a nose. It's more sinking in there. If you look at somebody's face from the side, you'll actually see the eyeball down there and then the bridge of the nose up there. Or if you were to make it too small, right, you can barely see it from the side, and like the pencil fits many times around it. About like that. Take your time and get them so that they're fitting just right. Look at it from the side. Don't squish them in there. You want them to stay kind of round, but you can kind of pad them in there a little tiny bit just so they don't fall out. Double check and make sure you have the bridge of the nose there, a little bit of cheek sticking out. Part of the eye socket, the edge right here is definitely lower than here and here. You can see that on both sides. Now, there are many ways to do eyes. I like to actually make individual eyelids. So what I do is I make a little coil, so I'm just rolling it in my hand. And then I make the ends of the coil skinnier. So it's a banana, right? And the length of that banana, it is longer than the width of the diameter of the eyeball, right? It goes all the way from here over to here. So, and I'm going to make it just ever so slightly shorter, because the next thing I'm going to do is I've got that banana this way, right? See how it's skinny that way? I'm going to squish it just a little bit like that. So now I'm going to call it a crescent moon. See how it kind of thickened from here to here? It's not paper thin, it's somewhat thick. It's got somewhat pointy ends. It's been squished that way. All right, so it's got to have a nice arch up here. So then I can take that little moon. Now I'm going to call it a boat. So the boat's floating in the water. I take the boat and I put it like that in the eye socket. See how the ends of it, the pointy ends, are sticking up? And then I'm going to tip it over. So this top part is sunken down in the eye socket, and this is rolling over the eyeball. And I'm going to do it again. Again, very important, just like the eyeball, that it is identical to the other one. Now that I have them both on there looking the same, I'm going to take some kind of a small tool. I like something that is rounded, and I'm going to just kind of blend so the eyelid and the eye socket or eyebrow area kind of become one. Notice I'm staying away from this front edge right here. I'm not touching it. And you work at whatever angle is most comfortable. So if you have to turn it upside down, that's not a problem. Not touching that front edge. See how thick that still is right in here? All right. If I go to blend this, it's going to squish away and it's probably going to become part of the eyeball. I don't want that. You have thick, somewhat thick flesh there. If it's too thick, you can just come to the edge and roll it back. You could also use a tool something like this. This one's really nice. It's a soft rubber. Watching out when I get close to that front edge there that I do not squish it. Okay, so this one needs to go in a little further. There's an indentation there. You may even want to reach up and put your finger up in this area and feel for yourself that there's a dip there. You can feel that eyelid going over and into the eye socket. Just turn it in whatever direction you need to make it fit. Also, I should point out that it continues to dip down here, right? It doesn't attach up to the edge of the nose or anything. Just kind of think it through. It's very helpful also to look at someone while you're doing this. I don't necessarily suggest you try to make it an exact likeness of someone for your first one, as that is more difficult to do. I would say be happy if you get it to just look like a human being. Now I'm going to go ahead and create kind of the reverse of that for the bottom eyelid, but the bottom eyelid is smaller than the top. So I'm going to use less clay. It's the same process. I'm rolling a coil. It's a lot smaller than that first one. So it's like a banana. I squish it so it's kind of a little baby crescent moon. Sometimes when you squish it, it gets a little too long. It does, just tear it off. There's my crescent moon. So now I'm going to call it a boat. All right, the boat is going to sit with the bottom into the eye socket. And then it's simply going to roll up. Make sure the bottom goes down into the socket, like that. And then roll it down, again, staying away from this edge. So this eye looks really sleepy. A couple of reasons for that. One is I have a little too much of a dent right here. So one thing I can do is just take that cheekbone and kind of roll it in like that. I can squirt with a little water. I can add some more clay in there. Again, I've got really, really wet clay, so I don't have to add slip and score it in there. That looks better. Now, my top eyelid is going too far down. So I'm going to take a tool and I'm going to try to just kind of inch it back and open the eye. See, like that. Now, what's going to happen when I do this is it's going to make that clay get thicker because it has to go somewhere. So then I can kind of trim it off, scrape some off. Press too hard, so I have to clean that up. If you end up having to do this and peel the eyelid back, it's really important to still try to keep that eyeball rounded underneath there. It takes a very light touch to do it well. Since I had to cut some off, it got a little bit like flattened and sharp on the edge, so I'm going to try to round it. And then the top eyelid overlaps the bottom eyelid. So I'm going to make the bottom eyelid look like it's going underneath the top one.